sure am glad to meet you. Thanks for coming.
For Lou Bellamy, operating a small professional black theater in the midst of a community center is exhausting but important.
Oh, I hear Claude. I gotta get going.
St. Paul's nationally renowned Penumbra Theater, located in the historic Hallie Q. Brown Community Center, provides Minnesota theatergoers with a much-needed alternative.
You ain't got no price.
As a theater historian, Bellamy knows that the importance of African-American performance goes back to the fields of slavery.
That existence was so dismal, so horrifying, that the taking on of another personality, another way of dealing with those issues, was part and parcel of the existence. This idea of acting things out, the idea of telling stories and so forth, was a way of passing culture from generation to generation, as well as providing that psychological safety valve.
But mainstream America corrupted black expression, making it into minstrelsy. In the early 20th century, this destructive satire pervaded American entertainment from Broadway to The Birth of a Nation, Hollywood's first feature, released in 1915. These painful portrayals went on with little to counter them on stage or screen. Then came Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson brought Eugene O'Neill's play, The Emperor Jones, to the screen in 1933. Robeson's commanding presence on stage and screen added a dignity to any role he played. The son of a slave, Robeson was more than an actor. He was also a singer, athlete, and scholar. In his 1958 autobiography, Here I Stand, Robeson wrote about the community that nurtured his creativity.
In a way, I was adopted by all these good people, hard-working people, and poor, most of them in worldly goods, but how rich in compassion, how filled with the goodness of humanity and the spiritual steel forged by centuries of oppression. Here in this little hemmed-in world, where home must be theater and concert hall and social center, there was a warmth of song.
From the 1936 film Showboat to concerts around the world, Robeson used the power of his voice for social change.
He became the champion not only of the civil rights struggle of black people in this country, but the working class rights for people all over the world. And he took a stand against injustice as perpetrated by the American power structure.
Taking a stand for the underclass and a friendly relationship with the Soviet Union made Robeson the target of conservatives. Despite his mistreatment in America, he continued to tour the world as an artist and activist. For Robeson, the two were inseparable.
The artist must take sides. He must elect to fight for freedom or for slavery. I have made my choice. I had no alternative.
Along with the books on Robeson, the Givens collection has over a century of black theater, including Elaine Locke's 1927 anthology, Plays of Negro Life, the stage writing of Langston Hughes, Lorraine Hansberry's 1959 play, A Raisin in the Sun, and the work of the 1960s black arts movement leader, Ed Bullins. Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright August Wilson follows in this great tradition.
Well, August Wilson's body of work speaks very eloquently to his mastery of the shifting context of African American history in the 20th century, and his own sense about the variety and richness of African American community life and perspectives and experiences.
The specifics of the plays are Black American culture, but if you look at what the plays are about, they're about love, honor, duty, betrayal. You see, they're about things that we all know that embrace all cultures. No matter who you are, you can connect with that.
Before Wilson was a great writer, he was a reader.
My mother taught me and my brothers and sisters how to read when I was like 4 years old, you know, because for her, reading was, if you could read, you could do anything. I had already wanted to be a writer at 14 and discovered a section of the library, the Negro section. There was about 30 or 40 books there. I said, okay, I'm gonna read all these. I began to connect and realize that there was something larger than me, that I was part of a larger group of people. And I thought, well, one day I'm gonna have my book up here.
Wilson came of age during the Black Arts Movement of the 60s and 70s. In 1977, he came to Minnesota.
So I got on an airplane and I came here in time for the first show at Penumbra that night. It was the same day I arrived to Minnesota. Moving from Pittsburgh to St. Paul, moving from a community of 55,000 blacks to a city in which a very small black population, you see, it enabled me for the first time to hear the voices of the people that I had grown up around. When I was there living amongst all of that poetry, if you will, all that language that I didn't really value the way that black people spoke. Here in St. Paul, I began to hear it and learn to value and appreciate it. There's a lot of mental and spiritual preparation that goes on before you actually commit anything to the page. Then from there, once I get involved in the play and the characters are talking to me, I more or less write down what the characters say. I start anywhere. I don't necessarily have a beginning, middle, and the end because I don't really know the story. I trust that the characters are going to tell me the story. I'm writing, and boy, Willie says Sutter fell in the well, and I go, well, that's news to me. So I began to make explorations around what I discovered.
One of the most wonderful things I think that August does, because he's a poet, is that he can capture the musicality of this experience in the language that he uses. Ma Rainey's a stunning example.
I wanna learn that dance.
Wilson's 1983 play, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, takes place in the late 20s, a time when mainstream America began to commercialize the blues. It was also a time when new forms of jazz represented an emerging attitude among young African Americans.
Okay, that's good, Ma. That sounded great. Good job, boys.
Tune that guitar, we'd really have something.
You wouldn't know what a tuned-up guitar sounded like if you heard one.
Levy, what is that you doing? Why are you playing all them notes? You play 10 notes for every one you're supposed to play. It don't call for that.
You're supposed to improvise on the theme. That's what I was doing.
You're supposed to play the song the way I sing it, the way everybody else play it. You ain't supposed to go off by yourself and play what you want.
I was playing the song. I was playing it the way I felt it.
I couldn't keep up with what was going on. I'm trying to sing the song. You up there messing up my ear. That's what you was doing. Call yourself playing music.
You're supposed to improvise on the theme, not play note for note the same thing over and over again.
You just better watch yourself. You hear me?
What's that supposed to mean?
All right, you're gonna find out what it means.
Go ahead and fire me. I don't care. I'm getting my own band anyway.
All right, nigga. You're fired.
You think I care about being fired? I don't care nothing about that. You're doing me a favor.
The music was developing, and Levy was right, and he was frustrated because he couldn't find an outlet for that. Blacks were not in control of their own music, of their own creation, of their artistic output, their spiritual offspring.
Wilson's art remains a part of the community through theaters like Penumbra.
To come back here and to see a play like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I can remember standing out in the hallway here and telling Lou about the play as I was writing it and describing the part where Levy was challenging God and had chased Cutler around the room. And I sat here that night and I watched Lou playing Cutler run around the room. And I would say, wow, yes, I remember when I was writing that.
August Wilson's writing is returning black performance to the role it played in the past, using creativity for cultural survival.
For me, it's first a mystical process, because I don't know where these voices come from, and they give me all this stuff, and then I use my knowledge of craft and whatever to shape and mold that and structure scenes that, you know, build and et cetera, in order to end up with the play.